Asexuality. So subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So in today's episode, I'm discussing with you interesting things that happen when you're a younger asexual cougar. So listen up. What is asexuality? Asexuality is a sexual orientation that's based on the lack of sexual attraction. And what this means for me personally is I get attracted to guys still, but I don't get attracted to them sexually. So I don't get the need, urge, or want for partnered sexual intercourse whatsoever. But I am attracted to younger guys in their early to mid 20s, predominantly foreign and predominantly Indian, just to put it out there. So I come into contact with different people, some whom are asexual and some of whom are sexual. And I've been on the dating scene now for 10 years, although I'm not actively looking for anyone on dating sites at the moment since my relationship this year, which was short-lived, didn't go according to plan. So I've decided to do some work on myself. I've joined Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club. Matthew Hussey is the world's #1 dating and confidence coach on YouTube, got over 3 million subscribers. So I'm learning more in depth about dating relationships so I can help you. But there are a number of interesting things that happen when you're a younger asexual cougar. And so people associate the cougar with very destructive patterns in their mind. Sometimes they see a cougar as someone who's not great, and they don't like the word. But I see a cougar as a very powerful, strong word. The cougar actual animal is very powerful, very strong, but it still has an air of elegance and sophistication about it. And I really like to make a distinction between me and who I'm attracted to. I want to make it clear that I'm not attracted to older guys. So that's why I put cougar in the title, even though cougar is associated usually with older women that like sex with younger guys. I don't like sex with younger guys. I'm an asexual cougar. That means absence of sexual attraction, but I still get attracted to younger guys. So some people say to me, like, why do you get attracted to younger guys? Like, why do you want to be with a younger guy? Because they're like the most sexual. Well, that's not actually true. I've come across a lot of older guys in dating apps, and particularly dating groups, because usually I filter the older guys out in dating apps that, are in their 50s, maybe 57, and they're very, very horny, right? So it doesn't matter what age a person is. It's all down to how they are wired mentally and physically, and what they actually up for, and what they like and what they need, right? So just because I'm asexual doesn't mean to say I can't be attracted to younger guys. Attraction is something that you can't help, right? I don't get sexually attracted because I'm not wired that way, because I lack sexual attraction. That's not how I'm made up. And so there's this big fallacy and myth in the world that everyone is wired for sex. And this simply isn't true. And it's not good for people who literally don't feel that way. It's like saying as a blanket statement that everyone in society is the same when they're not. But I do get attracted to younger guys. I can't help being attracted to younger guys. I can't make myself be attracted to older guys or anywhere near my birth certificate, which I'm really not interested in. I don't care about that. To me, it's just a piece of paper that says when I was born, and I have no interest in it whatsoever. But because I like younger guys, I'm very active usually on the dating scene. I have been for 10 years, although I'm taking a break from it at the moment. I'm not active on them anymore, but I do run 3 asexual dating groups. And there's some really interesting things that happen when you're a younger asexual cougar and you're on dating apps and dating sites, for example, or just out clubbing and all sorts of stuff. So I want to run through some of those that might be interesting for you. So one of the things you might be surprised to know is that I went clubbing, I think it was last year, and I was at hello in chat, nice to see you. So I was at a nightclub called Revolution in Exeter. That's where I live in the UK. And there was this younger guy with this younger girl. He was dancing with her. As far as I know, they were boyfriend and girlfriend, but he was looking at me. And she was like, horrified, like, you shouldn't be looking at her. I agree, he's in a relationship with her as far as I know, and he went with her, so he shouldn't be looking at me. But clearly I'm an older girl and I am voluptuous, I'm not skinny girl, and he was more interested in me because his eyes were wandering over to me and he was directly looking at me. and specifically in front of his girlfriend, he was more interested in me, and she was absolutely horrified at this, which I think it's right for her to be horrified. He shouldn't have been doing that. But my point is just because you're an older girl and you might be voluptuous means that you can still attract younger guys. Like, this girl he was with is blonde and she was skinny, but yet he was looking at me, the voluptuous older girl. Why is that? It's because I'm very confident in myself. I'm very confident when I dance. I have a lot of sexual behavior in the way I like to dance and kiss, even though I have zero sexual attraction. So I'm very proud of my curves. I'm actually more confident as a bigger girl. And I like it. I like the way I look. I like my voluptuous figure. And I like wearing nice clothes, and I love going clubbing. It's because I've got lots of energy. So there's this myth that, if you're older, you can't attract younger guys for some reason. I don't have that in my head. So dating younger guys when you're older is a mindset thing, right? I don't think I'm any less valuable than a younger girl. In fact, I think I'm more valuable to a younger guy because I've got lots of life experience in a variety of things. I've got a lot of things to bring to the table in terms of discussions and talking to them about different things, because I have lived for a longer time. So I've got a lot to bring to the table, and I think my energy clearly matches a guy who's like 21. Like, my mindset's 21 and I live like a teenager. And some guys have even said to me that I'm too old that they're too old, like that, like they haven't got the energy that I've got. So not that I'm too old, that I'm too young for them. And I have too much energy for them. So they're like the older one and I'm like the younger one. So what I got was like on an asexual dating app I was on, this guy is like 25 years old. He said, "You're great, but your energy is just too much for me because you're too energetic. And my heterosexual friends, guy friends, would love you, but you're not heterosexual, you're asexual and don't want the sex because they love you." And so, yeah, that's what I find, because most asexuals are actually introverted and I'm an extrovert. And a lot of asexuals, like, I want a quiet, peaceful life, and I'm very energetic and bubbly. So my personality does usually suit a younger guy, but usually I'm too young for even younger guys, right? So that makes things difficult. But I think it's surprising when I'm at a club and, like, younger guys a younger guy was looking at me over his skinny blonde girlfriend and clearly wanted to come and dance with me. I think it's very interesting that I do get older guys that are interested in me, but I'm not interested in them. But I get younger guys as well. I get a lot of guys that I'm interested in me and attracted to me, right? Because I don't have the mindset of my birth certificate age. I have the mindset of a 21-year-old. I program my mind to be like that. So I reprogram my mind using a thing called NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, to be like I'm 21 in my mindset, younger all the time. And I love being my younger teenager self. My soul is young. So I go by soul age, but I usually attract guys who have got an older soul. So they might be in their early to mid 20s, but they might be listening to something like, I don't know, 60s or 70s music. Whereas I like modern music. The oldest I usually like to go back to in general is the 90s, right? I do have other music. I used to do hospital radio presenting years ago, so I do have other music. But anyway, something else that's kind of strange, which I don't really like, but when I was on dating apps, I had lots of younger guys who wanted to come for me to hook up for kissing. So I'm an asexual that absolutely adores kissing, but I don't like sex, and I'm not looking for a hookup. But I used to get guys on dating apps specifically seeing my bio, pretty much ignoring the fact I don't like sex, but then zooming in on the fact that I love kissing. And and so a lot of them would just come for me for a kissing hookup, which is not something I actually wanted. Other people are like, "Oh, I want to have an asexual experience," and it's like they treat you like you're a red letter day. Red letter days when you have like a balloon experience or a cooking experience or some sort of murder mystery experience. So they would treat it a bit like that, like, "Oh, I want to try an asexual experience. I want to have an asexual experience." Like, asexuality is not something you can try on. It's not something you can, just put on like a coat. It's a genuine sexual orientation. A lot of people get that mixed up with celibacy or abstinence, and celibacy and abstinence are not the same thing. They are a choice, whereas asexuality is not. Asexuality is a genuine sexual orientation in which there is a lack of sexual attraction. You can have pure asexuals or grey asexuals. I'm a pure asexual, so I don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever. So there's guys, obviously younger guys. Some guys are very happy that I've told them the truth up front that I don't like sex and I'm not interested. Then other guys, they don't believe me. They think I'm making it up. And if they ever get to kiss me, then they say stuff to me like, oh, how are you holding yourself back? Like, how are you stopping yourself from having like those urges? And I'm like, I don't have those urges in the first place. I have no urge for sex whatsoever. If I look at a guy that I think is really good looking, then I may want to snog his face off and kiss him loads, but I don't actually want to have sex with him. Right? So that's how it works, because I'm asexual and sexual orientation. And some of the other strange things I get, I say I'm not having sex, and then they go into, oh, so you're going to give me a BJ, meaning blowjob. It's like, no, what part of I don't want sex do you not understand, right? If I say I don't want sex, then I don't want sex, right? But some of the younger guys, like in terms of energy, I'm clubbing till the early hours of the morning, like 2 a.m. or whenever the club closes in the past. And then the guys, they don't have enough energy to even sustain themselves being there till the end. They're like, oh, I'm going to go home now. And I've had guys going, oh, I'm going home now. And they think I'm going to come with them. It's like, no, I'm going to stay dancing. They're like, what? I'm like, I'm going to stay dancing, because one, I'm not going to go back to their place anyway because I don't want sex with them. And two, I'm out to dance. I'm not out just to be there for a guy. So it's really important that people know that I'm not interested in going back to a guy's house. I'm there at a club to dance predominantly. And then if I happen to meet a guy who's nice, then that's different. So there's some guys who are younger and they actually go on dating apps and dating sites specifically looking for an older woman. So you can always tell the difference between a guy who likes older women, actually loves to date older women and wants to be in a relationship with them, one of them or more. And then you can tell the difference between a guy who's not really into older women, but they just want to get as many matches as possible. So a guy who's really into older women, he'll specifically look for an older woman. He'll specifically want to go on dating sites to seek an older woman out. He'll specifically want that type of relationship. And a lot of it is because an older woman is sexually experienced. That's why they like it. But because I'm asexual in sexual orientation, I'm not interested in having sex. So when I go looking for a younger guy, I'm not looking for him for sex. I'm looking for, intelligent conversation, to go and do the things that, 20-year-olds like to do, like clubbing and cinema and eating out, going out to theme parks and stuff like this, having fun with my life. So some people, like some guys, misinterpret that as, oh, she just wants to have a good time and she's not interested in a serious relationship, whereas I am interested in a serious relationship. But people a lot of the time think a serious relationship has to involve sex, and if it's not involving sex, it's not a serious relationship, which simply isn't true. So a lot of guys on dating sites these days as well will take what they can get because they're having less matches. So that means some guys will meet up with me because they, even if we're just doing kissing or they want to do kissing with me, then they want to meet up for a kissing hookup, which I'm not interested in kissing hookups because I'm actually looking for a genuine, serious, committed relationship. But they'll say they're looking for a serious relationship. Then we end up like in this situation where I'm kissing them, and then it turns out they weren't telling me the truth a lot of the time. But some guys will literally travel miles all across the country just to kiss me, which in one sense is really nice because it feels good that I'm so attractive to them. They really want to snog me. But in the other sense, it's a bit like, well, you're just using me to snog me like a kissing hookup, which isn't very good. So that's kind of weird. And I think like the guys who are really into older women, like I said, they look for older women. They specifically put it in their bio as well. But there are some younger guys who are not really into older women. And those are the ones that always ask my age. Because a guy who's interested in an older woman, right, he won't even be bothered if you're like older, because he'll be looking for that. Whereas the guys who are not really into older women, not only do they ask my age, they get weird about age all the time, you know what I mean? And they can get belittling or putting down, like there's something weird about an older woman being with a younger guy, right? But the older women that the younger guys actually seek out is because they're really interested in being with a younger girl. And unfortunately, society is still not very good in terms of the fact they promote a lot the fact that it's great if older guys with a younger woman, it's like a pat on the back, that's really good, look at what you did, like they're triumphant and they've got a trophy or something. But when it comes to society and older women with younger guys, it's still very frowned upon, which I really don't think it should be. Right? For me, it's very natural for me to be with a younger guy. It's not natural for me to be with a guy anywhere near my birth certificate age or older. I'm not interested. There has been very random occasions that I have been with an older guy, but it's very, very few and far between, right? Usually it's always younger guys because I get more attracted to younger guys. I feel more comfortable around them. As far as I'm concerned, like mindset is in my 20s. I live like a teenager and love it. So guys who are younger are studying, they're into talking about different types of intellectual conversational things about the world, about in general about the world, about what's going on in the world and stuff like that. So that's why I like younger girls. And younger girls or younger guys? I'm not interested in younger girls. Oh my God. I don't usually do a stream at this time of day. So no, I'm not interested in younger girls. I'm interested in younger guys. I don't have attraction to girls, right? I only have attraction to guys. But that's one of the myths I get. Because some people, they say, oh, if you're not attracted to guys sexually, then you must be attracted to girls. But I'm not attracted to girls. I'm attracted to guys. But that's what I was wanted to say, is the fact that I'm not attracted to women. I don't get attracted to anyone but guys, but I'm not attracted to them sexually because I'm asexual and sexual orientation. So yeah, it's really weird when you're on the dating apps with younger guys. Like, I don't even think twice about talking to younger guys, approaching younger guys, chatting younger guys up, flirting with younger guys, smiling at younger guys. Like, I know I don't have any problem with that. When I look in my city, for example, I'm always zooming in on younger guys. I'm never even considering guys, like, because to my mind, when I think about older guys, it's like a father figure, and I'm not interested in that. And some people are like, oh, so you like younger guys because you like to mother someone. And I was like, no, I don't want children ever in my life. I've never been interested in having kids since I've been 15 years old. I'm not into mothering a guy. I'm not interested in doing housework for him whatsoever at all, because I don't do housework for a guy. You know, I like leading my own life. I like an independent younger guy with an older soul who knows what he wants. So I'm not interested in cleaning for him, cooking for him. I don't even want to do any of that. So that's not the reason I like younger guys. I like younger guys because that's the mindset age I am. And that's what I feel most physically comfortable around. And that's who I believe I'm meant to be with, a younger guy. So, you know, this poses a lot of difficulties in terms of the fact that I don't like sex, because it is true that a lot of younger guys like sex, but there are also a huge proportion of younger guys that aren't getting sex. Like, I come across a lot of guys that are in their mid-20s. They've never had sex before in their life, but that doesn't mean to say they're not going to. And when you're asexual and you're on the dating scene, you might think, if you come across a younger guy, you might be like, oh, well, this person hasn't had sex, so, you know, they seem fine with not having sex. But just because they haven't had sex up to a certain point in their life doesn't mean to say they don't want it in a relationship going forward. It just means that they're not having it right now, or they haven't had it and they haven't had the opportunity to have it. So I think this is a huge distinction, right, you need to make, and can be made. So whenever you're on the dating scene, you need to ask a younger guy, like, what is his plans for the future? Like, he might not even know. So that was obviously the difficulty if the guy doesn't know what he wants. Like, he might not want children now, but he might want children in 10 years' time. He might want to settle down in 10 years' time, but not want to settle down now. He might want to travel the world and things like that. But it's still interesting talking to younger guys because they still have a fresh perspective on life in some ways. Like older guys, I find they just want to put their feet in their slippers and basically just like be at home watching TV. I'm not interested in that. Right? I'm interested in a guy who like is active in his life, who knows what he wants, and who's an excellent communicator. But you do find a lot of guys on dating sites as well are time wasters. You find that they're just passing the time because they're bored, you're passing the time because they're lonely. You get some guys that are into older women because they want someone to chat to and they think an older woman's going to be more understanding than a younger girl, which can be beneficial in a relationship with an older girl, but also they could just want them for like that specific time they're going through difficulties. Then they might want someone else later on. But I think if you're an older woman watching this, don't be intimidated by the fact that you're older, because there's lots of younger guys out there that will be interested in you. There's lots of younger guys that do look for an older woman for experience, not just sexual experience, but life experience, relationship experience, knowledge and wisdom. So you bring a lot to the table. Like I'm in Matthew Hussey's Love Life Club and I see a lot of older women in there and they don't even think about being with a younger guy. And some of them are very scared about, like putting themselves out there, which I understand. And it is like difficult if you're not used to that. But I'm so used to talking to younger guys that for me, it's just nature. It's my nature and it's like part of my everyday life. And so I'm used to that as like very familiar, like being in a cozy armchair in your lounge, do you know what I mean? Chatting to people you just get on so well with. So I think as well, it's difficult because, like I said, younger guys don't always know what they want. But as an asexual person, you can say that you don't want sex, but they don't pay any attention to that in the bio a lot of the time. I've had younger guys that they don't even read my bio. I've had video dates with guys that haven't even read my bio that I'm asexual, not interested in sex. So what I used to do on dating sites after that is I used to specifically say, I always say in my bio that I'm asexual, but a lot of people don't know what that means. And so I had to spell it out like I'm not interested in sex, marriage or kids. I do like kissing though. So what some of them do is they hone in just on the kissing and think I want kissing hookup. Some of them like treat me as their mistress or something. I'm like, I'm not a mistress. I'm not interested in sex. Some of them, because I've got a strong character, think I'd be great dominatrix. And I'm like, I'm not into BDSM stuff, but because I'm quite a leader and I have an air of authority about me in some ways, some of them like find that really turning on. And so, yeah, I can attract the feminine guys as well because I am very strong and I have like masculine qualities in terms of being an action taker and a go-getter and being able to look after myself and being very independent. So I can sometimes attract those guys. But overall, my experience like in the dating scene with younger guys has not been very productive in the sense I've met the right guy, but it's been very productive as an insightful experience. Right. And so you do learn a lot about communication skills. You learn a lot about how younger guys' minds works and things like that. But they're not all sex obsessed. But some of them are. So they don't even read my bio. And then when they read my bio, some of them just completely ignore the fact I don't want sex. They think it's a temporary thing, like it's just a phase I'm going through, which it isn't. They think it's like I just don't want sex until the relationship gets more serious. That isn't the case. And for the guys who don't even read my bio, you've got to understand that people don't read your bio. They're not really interested in you as a person. And a healthy relationship is based on character traits, not just physical attraction. Like younger guys get very physically attracted to me. And how do I know this? Because I have snogged younger guys, especially on a dance floor or a nightclub for ages. Like, and there was a guy who was older than I wouldn't usually be interested in, but he said he was in his 30s, but I think he might have been a bit older than that. But anyway, I did kiss him, and that was weird because I was consciously aware that he was an older guy than I would usually go for. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not sure about this, but I did kiss him. I ended up kissing him for a long time. He was one of the guys that lied to me, unfortunately. He said he'd been in this country X amount of years, 9 years, I think he said, but he'd only been here, like, I think it was about 9 months, 8 or 9 months. And he lied because he had a wife and 2 kids back in his own country, but he said they were separated because she cheated on him. So he came back in Facebook and then was lying, telling me he didn't say what he said. So you've got to be very careful. There are quite a few gaslighters on the dating scene and people who want to blur your reality and don't want to take responsibility and accountability for their actions. And obviously, because I like younger guys and some of them aren't mature, they don't take accountability or responsibility for their actions. Instead of saying, look, I'm sorry, I cocked up, it's my mistake, yes, I did that, yes, I did that, they don't do that. They just cover it up and pretend like they never said it or never did it, which is very, very unhealthy. But the fact that those guys, like the ones that had dates with me, didn't even read my bio and get to understand asexuality just proves that those ones are very sexually driven. They're very thinking of themselves. They're not really thinking about a serious committed relationship. They're thinking more in the short term. So some guys do just want an experience. They're not actually looking for a sustainable long-term committed relationship, even if they say they are. They're looking for an experience, and they like the fact that I end up giving them a good experience because I'm very, although I'm not interested in mothering a guy whatsoever, I am by my nature very caring and loving person. So that comes across often if guys go on dates with me, you know. And so, but I won't stand for nonsense at the same time. So there'll only be so much that I will tolerate, and then, you know what I mean. And in healthy relationships, we actively communicate our needs to people. But obviously, some guys who are younger are really inexperienced, so they don't a lot of the time know what to say and what to do. So as an older girl, one of the feedback I got from a guy as well is it's nice because I was able to talk to a guy, because there was one guy I had a video date with on Badoo who wasn't good in the end because he kept creating different profiles and lying. And I would like block him on one profile and he'd come back with another. And so I thought he was really into older women because he seemed like he was. And then later on, he talked about me being a sugar mummy. I'm like, one, I'm not a mummy. Two, I'm not interested in children. Three, you weren't like that before. I'm not interested in paying a younger guy for sex. If I wanted to have sex with a younger guy, I could have a load of them. I get offered sex by younger guys all the time, including on Facebook inbox. I'm not interested in sex, so don't message me about that. I'm not interested, right? But I'm just saying, you know. And so the fact that he even thinks I need to pay someone for sex is just a joke to me, and not a very good joke. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't need to pay for sex. I can easily get sex at a nightclub whenever I want it. I'm not interested in sex. I get guys interested in having sex with me all the time. That's usually one of the main problems, but not always, is they want sex and I don't. But sometimes it's a difference in value and beliefs. Like, I believe in honesty, transparency, authenticity. I believe in not keeping secrets from the world, and so I'm very out there. And a lot of guys, they like to keep more secrets. Some guys like to see an older woman in secret. They don't want their parents to know. They don't want their family and friends to know. And those are the guys, I would say, who are not really serious, the majority, about liking an older woman. Because if you're serious and really interested in having an older woman for a relationship, and you're driven by the fact you like older women, you're not really interested in your own age group, that's a huge difference, and it's something that you can't actually end up being in. So guys that are really interested in older women, they will think of girls their own age more like a mate and someone they wouldn't even consider being in a relationship with. The guy on Badoo, which I had an actual video date with, he said that I was a lot better because I was good at conversation, whereas he went on a date with a girl his own age, and they sat there for about an hour in a coffee shop, and she just didn't really say barely anything to him. Like, he could have obviously talked to her, but he wasn't comfortable with that situation. It's like, oh, you talk to me, you're very good at conversation, I love what you're doing, you know, because I'm very ambitious and stuff like that. He said, well, I saw a girl my own age, she just sat there, and that's the way it was just boring. So an older woman can bring more interesting conversation to the table. She's had different experiences. If she's pursuing her career like I am, and ambitious, then obviously that can be very attractive to a younger guy, especially if he's around younger girls that are not really interested in those type of things. But there's a very big difference between being interesting conversation and being very interesting general for a younger guy. But when it comes to an actual relationship, some guys will still choose someone around their own age. Why is that? One, because they might not be really that attracted to older women. They just like having sex, and they see an older woman as someone who will have sex with them in a good way because they're very experienced and they can teach them stuff. I've had a lot of guys wanting me to teach them how to have sex. I'm not interested in sex, but I get a lot of younger guys wanting me to be their teacher. And that's the danger as an older woman. You can fall into the kind of mentorship teacher of the younger guy, which is like, it's not good to just be that, right? I think in a relationship with a younger person or older person in general, I think there is a degree of wisdom passed on, of kind of like teaching. But the younger guy, depending on what gender mix it is, but I'm talking about older women with younger guy in this, the younger guys can still bring a lot to the table. The younger guy knows the latest trends a lot of the time. They know kind of the mindset of the younger generation, and they a lot of the time are studying and they're up to date on their studies. So if you're an older girl like me who's into personal growth, then if they're studying the latest like PhD in, for example, entrepreneurship, business management, marketing, IT, all this type of thing, the topics that I find really interesting and stimulating, then that would bring up good conversation to have. A lot of the time I like modern music, so and clubbing, and I like a lot of modern things more than the younger guys do a lot of the time. So sometimes I'm, like I said, I'm too young for them. But I think it's very interesting having mixed age groups, just like it is with mixed ethnicities. I actually think it makes for a much more interesting relationship, interesting dynamic. And the guys that are really interested in an older woman for a relationship, they won't really be able to settle down with someone who is the same age as them, because they'll think that there's something not right. This is a difference between when you genuinely like a different age group and when you actually just are just wanting experience with someone with a different age groups. Because some guys, it's their absolute dream to be with an older woman. It's like a sexual fantasy. But I'm not interested in sex because I'm asexual and lack sexual attraction. But it is an actual fantasy, you know. It's like their fantasy to be with an older woman because they think an older woman's more experienced sexually, can give them like the sexual experience of their life that they're not likely to get anywhere else. And some of these guys are quiet about their sexual fantasies, and others, I'm sure, they talk to their mates about it. But I'm not interested in sex, but because I'm very passionate with the way I like to kiss and stuff, a lot of younger guys, they're still interested in a experience with me. But that to me feels like I'm being used then, which isn't good. So it's important to find someone who seriously wants a relationship with you in the age group that you like, if that's the case, because I need to find a guy who's actually into an older woman by default. Default means he's wired that way, right? There's a big difference between, like I said, a guy who's wired to want to be with an older woman and a guy who's just wanting an older woman to have a fantasy or experience played out in real life for a short period of time. So I think it's very interesting, the dynamics between different age groups in a relationship. I think if one's got an older soul and one's got a younger soul, then they meet in the middle. Like I've got the younger soul. Some guys I meet, quite a lot of guys I meet, they've got an older soul. Right, my best friend, who we're not romantically interested, he's into guys, so I'm the wrong gender for him. But he's got an older soul. Like in birth certificate age, he's younger than me, but he's a lot older than me. He likes 50s music, for example. Like he doesn't even come from that era, but that's what he likes, you know. He likes older stuff, but it works out really well because I'm really young and he's older in that respect. So we don't even go by birth certificate age. We're not interested in that. We go by the age that we actually are in our souls. And I think this is really important in relationships. You should go by your soul and your mindset and lifestyle age, because I've come across a lot of older women that are around my birth certificate age, and the stuff that they're interested in and the way they look and what they do is just like so different from me. I'm like 20 years younger, at least from what they talk about. That would make me very, very young. And you know what I mean? It's like there's such a difference. I look at some women, I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, how can you even be near my birth certificate age? Because you talk like you're 20 years older than me. You look like you're 20 years older than me. You act like you're 20 years older than me. And yeah, and I'm like thinking, well, I'm 21 in my mindset. I live like a teenager, so it's not surprising. So that's quite weird, but I get it a lot. I look at this woman, I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, if someone asked me in one of my previous live streams, like, is this a wig or is this your natural hair? I'm like, it's my natural hair. I've never dyed it in my life. This is all my natural hair. So I I feel a lot more comfortable physically being with a younger guy than an older guy. So for me, an older guy in birth certificate age, I'm not interested in guys usually in their 30s, 40s, or 50s, but some guys in their early 30s, I can be okay with, but it's not my preference. Like, there's a few younger guys in their 30s, but that's usually too old for me, right? Usually I like guys in their early to mid 20s. But, you know, like a guy who's 32, for example, I ended up almost being an online relationship with him, but he was like more immature than a guy I knew who's 21. So just because someone's got a certain birth certificate age, you know, the age on their piece of paper, doesn't actually mean that they live up to that. Some 21-year-olds can be a lot more mature than guys in their 40s, for example. Why? Because some guys in their 40s have had different experiences that have made them very negative towards women, that have made them very pessimistic and cynical, that have made them not take responsibility for their own actions, or they don't take accountability or responsibility for their actions because they're just not that type of person and they're not wired that way. Whereas a guy who's like in his early 20s, say he's looking after a sick parent, or he's looking after siblings like he's a parent himself, or he's got a lot of responsibilities in his job, or he does volunteer work, or his job requires a lot of in-depth communication skills and verbal reasoning and people skills, then he can be a lot more mature than a guy who's in his 40s or 50s that's just basically stacking shelves in a supermarket, if you know what I mean. Because it's all about the mindset and the soul age, about life experiences. So I think as a society, we need to get away from, you know, like just dating someone our own age or you know, and I think it's important to actually go after what we're really wanting. Like, what experience do we want the person to have? What wisdom do we want them to have? What energy do we want them to have? What interests do we want them to have? The fact that people think that people who are older or younger have completely different life experiences and on completely different trajectory and different lifestyles, well, I get where they're coming from. This can be true in some cases, but actually with me, I find it's like I'm the one who's got the younger trajectory, if you like, and the younger mindset a lot of the time. But I do want the serious, committed relationship, which some guys don't know what they want who are younger, you know? So that's what I come up against. I've got like the energy of 21 or younger. I've got the lifestyle and mindset of that, but the actual younger guys have got like either older souls, or they're like more doing like a 9 to 5 job. They want to be in bed by 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I literally live like I'm a student myself. Like, I'm working a lot of the time to like 4 a.m. in the morning and get up at midday and stuff like this. Or I had to get up early today for a tech meetup, you know, so I'm into tech and lots of younger staff. So it can be very strange, the juxtaposition of how the younger guy's usually older than me and I'm usually younger than him. But in terms of knowing what I want, that's where I'm older comes into it, because I know what I want in life and I'm very conscious of what I do and do not want because of my life experience. Whereas a younger guy, a lot of the time, he might be like still studying. He doesn't know what he wants in terms of a career. He's not settled down in himself yet and in his life purpose. And so for him, it's very up in the air, which means he could change his mind at any given moment. But anyone can change their mind at any time in their life. You know, that you don't have to be the birth certificate age that you're dealt. Like, some people think if you get to a certain age, you've got to behave a certain way. I just think that's a load of rubbish. That actually makes people older, right? So if people reach a certain birth certificate age, because society dictates this is how they should dress, this is how they should look, this is what hairstyle they should have, and everything like this, often they fall into the trap of being that birth certificate age, acting like that, dressing like that, thinking like that. And they get older because of it. Their hair even goes grey and stuff like that. It's because they're not actually thinking they're younger. Their mindset is telling them they're older and telling them they're a certain age. So my mindset tells me I'm 21. My lifestyle tells me I'm 15. And so the more I think that way, the more I think of the younger soul in me, the more happier I am. The more I think of my birth certificate, I'm like, this is crazy. This is not who I am. This is what's written on a piece of paper. And I watched, I think it was Diary of a CEO with Joe Dispenza. And he said, like, age is a societal construct. It's a societal construct that people have basically made up to put people into certain boxes. That's what it's for. And I don't fit into that box. And there is no way I'm anything like my birth certificate age. Like, there is a person who I know, and they're like 1 year older in birth certificate age than me, but they look so much older than me. They look like they could be my dad. Not that they are my dad, but do you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my God, that's just so gross. But you see, because I like younger guys, I will find older guys more gross. Just like guys who are into younger girls will find women their own age gross. So, or just like mates. Do you know what I mean? So it each goes on the person's own individual, like heart, mind, and soul. That's what the age we should be looking for in dating and relationships. We should be looking for someone we have commonalities with. We should be looking for someone who we do feel attraction for. And I get a lot of guys who are very physically attracted to me because of my aura, because of my confidence, particularly when clubbing, for example, because I'm kind of crazy on the dance floor. And I think that it's very warming. And a lot of younger guys, because they do like to be the center of attention, they do like to be on trends, they do like to be with the hottest girl in the room, they do like to be with the most popular girl in the room. If I'm dancing like a crazy girl and I have a lot of attention in that way, then a guy ultimately wants to come over and be with me because he's like, oh, I want attention now. So by being with this girl, I can get attention because I'm with the girl who's creating attention for herself. Do you see how this works? This is quite interesting because not a lot of people dive into this type of thing, but this is how it works. So if you are like a really interesting person, if a guy is, it's not necessarily going to lead to a healthy relationship, because this guy can be just going on appearances. He can just be going on, oh, I want to be popular, so I'll get with the popular girl in the room, which happens to be me sometimes. And so when I say popular as in dancing, sometimes I get people going, oh, I love your dancing. I dance crazily. I don't really dance like normally as such. I dance quite crazily. But because I'm far out and I'm just putting myself out there, I get women who like my dancing as well. I have women in the past who used to ask for a selfie in the toilet with me in my favourite club in my city in Exeter, you know? And that was really interesting. And I had some Indian girls as well saying they like my dancing and stuff like that. So obviously it doesn't work for everyone, you know, everyone's different tastes. But that's my whole point, that older guys that like younger women, and there are also older women that like younger guys, and both of them are valid. But I just wanted to share some of my experiences because I thought, especially when there was the younger guy who was with his own age group and had a girlfriend but was looking at me, and she was like blonde and skinny, which loads of guys would probably be attracted to, whereas I'm voluptuous, dark blonde, and you know, older. So, but because I was energetic and I was enjoying my dancing and I was dancing crazy and just having fun with it and not taking myself too seriously and not just doing tiny little steps, then that's why he found me attractive and was warm to me. So I think it's very interesting when you dissect why people go for who they do. But there are lots of guys who do want to have an older woman in secret because they don't want their parents to know about it. But then if they don't want their parents to know about it, then you clearly know that they're not looking for a serious relationship. A guy who's looking for a serious relationship with an older woman will tell his parents, like, I like older women. That's it, right? I tell my parents, and I've told my parents years ago, and they know this, that I like younger guys. My mum and dad are cool with that. My mum knows that I would not be suitable to a guy anywhere near my birth certificate age or older. She knows I'm suited to a younger guy because I've got too much energy and like too many younger things. So even my mum can see someone and go, oh, he's too old for Sandra. He'd be right. He'd be good age for Sandra and stuff like this. So I think when your own family notices that, it's really good. But I've always been upfront with my parents for years. Like I've told them, so they're not like having a surprise. But a lot of younger guys that are into older women, they're not telling their parents because they're scared about what their parents will think or what their parents will say. But if they're seriously wanting to find a committed relationship with an older woman, then they need to come out to their parents about the fact they like older women. And they need to let their parents know as soon as possible so their parents can get used to the idea and be comfortable before she comes into their life. Because the problem about telling your parents when that person comes into your life is they're stunned. They're like, how can you be with someone who's like older than you? Right? How can you be with someone that age? And they don't understand it. But if a guy says to his parents early on, look, I like an older woman. I want you to get used to the idea of that. I want you to know I'm not attracted to girls my own age. I don't feel that way about them. I like an older woman and I'm going to be with one in the future. What I would say as well is when younger guys like older women, there is something that they forget. So they forget that a lot of older women, they've either got children of their own or they don't want children. They've decided they don't want children in their life. And a lot of younger guys haven't factored that into the equation. They're kind of thinking in the here and now, like, oh, I don't want children now. But they don't really ask themselves, like, will I want kids in like 5-10 years time? And a lot of them, when they ask themselves that question, yes, they will. But if an older woman's got children and she realizes she doesn't want them at all in her life, right? She's not interested in that. She likes to live her own life and be independent. Then that's not going to be compatible with a younger guy, however much he likes an older woman. So if he wants kids, he's got to find an older woman either who's already got children or who really wants them because she's coming up to the age she can't have kids anymore. I can still have kids, even though I definitely don't want them. And or, you know, he's got to accept the fact that some older women don't want children. They've decided in their life they don't want children. They've been without children the whole life and they don't want them. They like their independence. They like their freedom. They like to be able to do what they want when they want. And they like to have a relationship just with that person, not with a kid involved. And some, obviously, people adopt as well. But if the older woman doesn't want to adopt, if she's got to a stage in her life where she's settled down or she's happy in her life, she's pursuing her career, she doesn't want that. So a guy has to seriously ask himself, if he wants an older woman, what is the requirements for that? Does he want an older woman to be able to travel with him, in which case he doesn't want one that's settled in her own home? Does he want an older woman that wants children? If so, he's got to find an older woman that's physically capable of still having children. One who's not going to get their life threatened by having kids because it's really getting to the stage where she can barely have any anymore. And he might have to consider adoption. And he has to rule out any woman that doesn't actually want children, if that's what he wants. Because you can't actually be in a relationship with someone who wants different things in terms of deal breakers. Deal breakers are things like sex, marriage, kids, and living together. I don't want any of those. Even in a relationship, I have to have, ideally, someone who lives separately to me, but near me. So it's called a living apart together relationship, which a lot of heterosexual couples have these days. It's not just because I'm asexual that is the case, but I think that's a large part of it, that I don't actually want to be living with someone, but also I can't sleep in the same bed as someone usually and stuff like that. So hang on a minute, I've got to go because I've got someone at the door. Take care, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Bye.